Tonight we continue our series of interviews with candidates for state representative in the 7th Suffolk District. It's currently represented by Gloria Fox, who's not running for re-election. The district includes most of Roxbury and part of the Fenway. Our guest is one of the candidates in the Democratic primary on Thursday, September 8th, Marydith Tuitt. Thank you very much for being with us, Marydith.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I want to get to how you started in the direction of politics. You worked for a long time for Gloria Fox, and what came before that put you in that direction?
Well, before I started working with Representative Fox in 1999, back in Boston, after I had moved back into Boston, I was doing some work. I was driving limousines, but at the same time, I was very active in the community, doing things in the neighborhood, doing block party, street yard sales, trying to get the community together, keep positive and things like that. And I was involved in the schools, doing, volunteering time and sitting on different things with my kids, because I had 2 kids in the school system. So I stayed very involved in the school system and parent-teacher council and things like that, and just trying to keep the young people involved. And then I met Representative Fox, another kind of role model to me, a mentor to me. Kay Chambers introduced us, because at the time the rep was looking for someone to be her private driver and travel with her. And I did that for about 4 or 5 months, and I was kind of liking, going to the events and the community things with her. And she says to me, Mary, you're really good with the people. Have you ever thought about working in politics? And I was like, well, it seems like it would be, interesting, and that's when it started, 1999.
Well, looking back now, what else have you learned in the intervening years working with her?
I've learned a lot. I have learned a lot. Because I seem to be really good at constituent issues and doing, a lot of the event planning. So over the years, I had created the Fox Times newsletter that she used to send out. I've done Easter egg hunts on the Commons for the Girl Scouts and things like that. I've done town hall meetings. I tend to like the internship program that we had developed, where we were able to bring youth from all over the Commonwealth, especially in the communities of color, into the State House. And we used to partner up with a lot of different organizations and schools to do that. And being a strong voice for the community is something that she's really enhanced, showing me that, if you really want to do service for the people, you have to be really strong about that need that they need. And so I've learned a lot over the years how to continue doing that.
Well, one need in this district is that there are young people who get to the end of their schooling and they don't have much going for them, and you want to change that narrative. What do you see yourself doing?
And I do, and a lot of times we focus in on our youth and we talk about graduating from high school and going on to higher education, but not all of our young people want to do college. I didn't. When I graduated Boston Tech, I was a good student, had good grades, really never, I wasn't allowed to bring home C's and D's. That was a no-no. But at the same time, I knew I was going to go into the military. So I did that, and I loved it, 14 years, and, still past couple of years I've been looking into going into the National Guard, because I missed that life, But at the same time, there's alternatives for our youth. Our youth, might not be, into that college thing. Like even my son, he's 26, he's into, computers, and he wants to do graphic designing. But right now, he just wants to focus on learning his art and doing that and not doing school. So let's talk about, how do we cultivate a successful adult? Does it have to be, in higher education? Can we do alternative learning? Can we do trade school? So let's focus. Let's talk about that. A lot of our young people want to do trade. And trade is good. I'm not saying don't do college if you want to do college. Then college is good, but it's not for every young person out there. So we have to look at them as individuals. Not all of our boys and girls are the same in learning streams. So that's what I want to focus on. That I want to talk about bringing more young people, high school and college, not just college, but high school and college, into the State House. Get them civically engaged. Let them know we don't have civic in the school system, so why not bring them into the building? let's look at different ways that we can do this, Yeah.
Well, this district is still hit very hard, especially when you look at the numbers for homicides now, and it's a sign of some other needs, maybe fixing the criminal justice system or something about policing. What would you like to focus on?
Well, I do a lot right now with the MCIs. I go into MCI Norfolk and Shirley, Concord, Framingham, and I talk to the brothers and sisters that are incarcerated, to try to figure out. I do restorative justice work, but also at the same time, part of it is what was the root cause. And I've learned over the years that a lot of it was stabilization of the family. A lot of the young brothers said to me, well, my dad was gone, or my mom was working 2 jobs, my dad was working 2 jobs, and I just wanted to help the family out. And those were the choices they wanted to be part of, bringing, food to the table and help keep the roof over their family's head and so on. And the same thing with the young women. It was the same thing. It was like they were taking part in being the adults in the household. So we have to talk about, yes, we need to talk about criminal justice and the system reform. We have to talk about prison reform. We have to talk about the community relationship with the police on the streets. How are you comfortable enough talking to a police officer walking down the street? Or are you afraid to talk to a police officer walking down the street? So, I support a lot of the things that the Boston Police is doing over the past years. We're trying to get that relationship, that connection. We used to have Officer Friendly come into the schools and talk to the young people. Now, I saw it the other day for myself where a police officer said hi to a little kid, and the mother was like, don't talk to him. And I was like, wow, you're already cultivating this young person to not feel comfortable talking to a police officer. So we have to make some changes, Yeah.
Well, speaking of changes, this district has seen a lot of changes in the housing market. It's getting much more expensive for some people. Rent's going way up. Even people who own homes are worried about being able to stay. Yeah. What can the state rep do?
And that's one of my things that I'm working on. I've been looking at is basically housing stabilization. We have rent that goes up almost every year that your lease is up. Your landlord says, I'm going to increase your rent. Because maybe the property value, their taxes have gone up, and they have to come up with that. They might be on a set income because they're elderly and they've been there for a while. And also, I want to look at home ownership. Having more property owned by residents of Roxbury. That way, it's our property. It's not developers that don't live in our community that own most of the houses.
How would it be affordable to people who have trouble doing that?
And that's where we're at. I've been having some dialogue with some of the developers, and goal is to sit down with neighborhood development and talk about some of the programs that they've launched around building your own home, getting land that the city owned. But we used to have a program years ago. I remember my dad was a contractor, where you were able to get abandoned houses and so on for $1, right? I'm not saying let's do the dollar thing, but let's look at something like that again, where someone that wants to own property have the ability, that open door.
Finally, a little more time. You have a campaign site people can look at?
Yes, it's vote4mary.net. So that's VOTE, 4, MARY.net is the website you can go to.